Hello, my name is Donna Freeman, and I am the founder of Yoga in My School and Kids Yoga Academy. Welcome today. I'm really excited today. I'm reconnecting with an old friend, an old mindfulness friend of mine that we got together many years ago in Banff for a conference. I'm thinking it's like almost like 7 or 8 years
Yeah,
ago now. Like it
quite
was
a while ago.
quite a while ago, kind of in the baby steps for mindfulness for teens and youth. And so I'm going to chat today with Gina Biegel, and she is a psychotherapist, a speaker, and author. We're going to talk about the second edition of her Stress Reduction Workbook for teens and all the things that are happening in her life and her expertise, and bring those to you today. But just a side note before we get in, we're going to be the Yoga in My School online kids yoga class. You got one more week to sign up for that if you're interested in doing that course online this fall. So definitely go check that out. And I know that Gina also offers courses, and we'll get into all that goodness right now. So Gina, how's it going?
It's really good. It's just such an honor to be here, and I'm still very grateful that you wanted to meet with me. And it's just so lovely to see you. I mean, it's just interesting to watch how, I guess, this movement has unfolded. When I first started doing mindfulness with youth, I felt like I was on a little island, and in a way I was. And now it's really become much more mainstream and acceptable, and which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so nice to see that your career has flourished and continued, and you're doing beautiful things in the yoga community. And I see your post on social media, and I get to see all these wonderful things that you and the yoga communities in particular are doing. And I'm just really honored to be here. So thank you.
Well, wonderful. I'm so glad. Like, it was when I saw on social media that your second edition of this lovely book, we'll just hold it up for everybody. See, I even have my name on it. This one's
That's
mine.
good.
Nobody gets it. This is mine. But when it came out with the second edition here, I was like, oh, what a wonderful opportunity to reconnect with Gina and focus on that work and mindfulness for teens and youth. And I find a lot of these things are, teens, and you can stretch that a little bit to the tweens and to those early 20s. It's not just for somebody who has a 1 in front of a number on their age.
I kind of consider it so I'm not dumbing down my work, but it's kind of the mindfulness for dummies guide. And I feel like in the 21st century, we work well with quick interventions, quick snippets, quick practices. And my book, for the most part, is really applicable, I'd say, to most people. And it's just these quick, immediate ways to bring yourself into the now and to be present and to kind of shift away from the negative selection bias that we're so automatically tilted toward, and to bringing in more of the positive in your life.
Marvelous. So for those people who aren't familiar with you, they didn't meet you at a conference 8 years ago, don't follow you on social media, can you tell us a little bit about your training, your background, and how you came to be where you are today?
Sure. So let's see. How to best answer this thoughtfully. In grad school, I was studying at Santa Clara University in Santa Clara, California, and got connected with Shauna Shapiro, who is a pretty known mindfulness practitioner and writer, researcher, scholar. And I was receiving some training from her and started working with her on some research with using mindful MBSR, the adult program, for those in therapists in training. At the same time, she was kind of immersing me in all of the work that I could get my hands on, because at the time, very type A personality. I wanted it all, and I wanted it now, and I wanted to know everything. And why couldn't I go be a guru right this minute? So she told me I should go sit with John and Saki at a training. So I did that. And then I immersed myself in the Bay Area community with Bob Stahl and Amy Saltzman. And through all of that, at the same time, I started my internship at Kaiser, which is a large HMO in many states in the United States and California. And so because I was an intern, they would have me filter and circle through all of their best practices, evidence-based practice groups. And I wasn't really seeing a lot of change in the teens or young people that were taking different groups for, depression or anxiety or ADHD, or even just general speaking, general talking groups. And so I decided to start bringing in mindfulness with my clients individually and with families. And I would see these aha moments, these light bulbs going on. And the reason why I was teaching them was that I was taking the adult MBSR curriculum, mindfulness-based stress reduction for adults, and I was kind of changing it so I could understand it. Because when I first was immersed in MBSR, I had a really hard time with really long practices, and some of the curriculum was hard for me to kind of get my hands on. And I wanted to make sense of it. I'm like a scientist, researcher, right? I wanted to make this stuff make sense instead of being out there in the world, like kind of existentially. It's like, okay, how concretely can I understand this? And so as I was changing it in my mind to understand it, I was teaching it with teens and families. And to make a really long, I'm sorry, this is a long story, but I then had the opportunity to, decide, hey, what if we taught this as a group? This would be really cool. And I went to my manager at the clinic. She's like, no way, you're not going to do that. And so I said, well, Kaiser's all about research. So I said, well, what if I do it as a research study? And she said, sure, because I don't think she thought I would get it approved, but I did. And then they said I would teach it once. And I taught it for 8 years. And the only reason it stopped is because I left working there. But that's kind of how I came to it. I come to it personally and professionally, meaning personally, I don't know if you remember, there's this commercial called the Hair Club for Men, where this guy sells, hair products, and he says, for people who are balding, and he says, I'm not only the founder, I'm also a member. And so for MBSR, I'd say MBSRT is my teen version, is I'm not only a founder, I'm also a member. I've worked through my own angst and issues through mindfulness as much as I use it to work with others. And so that's kind of how I came to MBSRT and this work.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And it really speaks to mindfulness. A mindfulness program is only as successful as the people applying the program and teaching the program. That's what they find again and again. So we who are leading mindfulness for teens and for kids and for adults, of course, you can hear my neighbor's dog barking in the background now.
No problem. My partner is currently outside watching my dog so that we don't have the bark in my room. So, it works out that way.
It's like, we'll see just how long that continues. Yeah, they say that as we apply mindfulness techniques, then there's resonance there. And especially the teens, then they recognize that resonance and will then apply them in their own lives. But if we don't have that, then they're like, you don't even know what you're talking about.
They're good bull blank detectors.
They are.
Yeah. So, I always say this when I'm teaching professionals, that it's the instructor that's as important, if not more important, than the content itself. I know that there's a lot of programs out there, and they're wonderful and beautiful, but you have to bring mindfulness into your own life. And what happens is it creates a mindful person, and then you're more mindfully present to those you're working with, and genuine, authentic, and all these beautiful qualities that allow you kind of sit down with a teen and meet them where they're at.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So as you I really love the layout of your workbook for teens, because it is a workbook. It's actually, you're supposed to interact with it. You're supposed to write in it. And so when you're an author, you've written a couple of books, and as an author, what made you go for a workbook style here? Because there's lots of other books that teach mindfulness for youth, but here, this is like the nitty gritty. Get pen, get book, and apply. And there's 32 lessons, I think.
Yeah.
Right. That you can, and they're progressive, and which is lovely. But why did you choose that style?
Well, so interestingly enough, when I first wrote the first edition that came out in 2009, I actually wrote the book not for a workbook. And New Harbinger had just acquired the Instant Help series, and they're like, oh, well, you need to turn your writing into a workbook now. And I was like, what? No, I just wrote this. I wanted to write a book, because a workbook, it's not really a book. You have to take down your it's not as good as a book. And that's just a bunch of phooey. Yeah, I use the word phooey. Okay. So, I had this old, I had this printout that I would give teens that had a whole bunch of handouts in it. And so it was like, getting kind of sitting on the floor with teens, and it's you can use this in a group setting, or you can use it individually if you're in education or in a clinical setting. Either way, it's applicable. And it's really so that by writing and answering the questions and immersing yourself in it, you're learning it kind of more than one way. Hopefully you're being taught it by a professional or someone who has some knowledge of mindfulness. So they're hearing it, and then they're learning it by reading it, and then they're learning it again by writing it, and then encouraging through practice. When I first wrote the first workbook, which is done really well, that was in 2009, and a lot has changed. A lot has changed in social media. A lot has changed in our world in which teens are living today. And it was really the right time to write another edition. Unlike a lot of editions, second editions, this book is almost fully rewritten.
Wow, that was my next question, is what's different? Because I don't have a copy of the first one. I always wanted to get one, but I never got around to it.
If you send me your address, I'll send you one, because I have I really will, so do that. What is different is almost all of the activities have been rewritten. All of the vignettes with our examples are more modern. Okay. I took more chances with some of the things I share, and in terms of, for example, negative coping skills, I include real things, like real things, self-harm that teens are really doing. I include a self-awareness calendar for self-harm. I include things on self-harm, which is important. I include things on mindful media, mindful messaging and posting, because social media is such a big part of teens' life. It's how do we bring mindfulness to what they're doing and an awareness of what they're doing instead of this automatic pilot. I mean, I've changed a lot and grown and learned from a lot more teens and grown myself. I've matured myself, and I've learned a lot about how to teach teens. Basically, mindfulness creates a pause between a stimulus and allows for a response instead of just reacting. And so a lot of my work takes that into account. And then additionally, this workbook has a lot of positive neuroplasticity in it. Rick Hansen is a big mentor to me. I took his positive neuroplasticity training, which I highly recommend. And I took his clinical piece too. There was a regular training for all of us, and then there was a clinical edition. And, that really has also impacted me. And so there's a lot about taking in the good. It's like, we ask teens to do a lot of things, but we don't teach them how. If all they're seeing in social media is maybe how to do things that aren't necessarily healthy for them, it's our job to teach them what things they can be doing to be for their own livelihood and health and getting their basic needs met and doing things they enjoy. Another thing too is I changed there's calendars in this curriculum, and in the adult program they're always called pleasant and unpleasant events, and I've changed them to unpleasant and pleasant moments, because it's really important for teens to start considering all the moments of their day, not just big events, and really right-sizing things. Also, there's a number of activities online. When you open the workbook, there's a link to, let's find it. There's a website link in the letter to parents, and when you go to it, you can download all the worksheets in the book, are downloadable so that you can print them out and give them to your clients or students. Nice. And then there's also a lot of bonus activities. Because I had so much to share, I wrote more than could fit in the book. There's extra activities on top of ones that are in here, and a few of the activities that got pulled from the first edition are also up as a bonus material. So, I'm really proud of this book, and I'm excited for people to immerse themselves in it. And I'm appreciating the opportunity to share that this is a very different book than the first edition. A lot of times people have been writing me, well, I love your book. I use it all the time. I'm so glad I have it. It's like, but wait, this is a really different book. So thank you for giving me the platform to share that.
No, it's a pleasure. Like I said, I've followed you, and I've known about your work, and I've admired you for all that you've done for years. And you really were one of those pioneers in this community. And so, like I said, as soon as there was a second edition, I was like, oh, well, let's send a message.
When I hear the word pioneer, it's really funny when it's associated with my name. I think there were a number of us who kind of were on our own little islands, not knowing this would be a movement. And now it's a movement, over a decade later. I created my business, Stress Teens and MBSRT, in 2004. Yeah. And it's like, wow, it's crazy just where it's gone and where it is now. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes, but I think something that for me has been really a shift in my view of things is that I think learning about mindfulness is kind of this foundational piece, the basics, paying attention to your senses, starting to understand what your thoughts are and what your feelings are. But then once you have this awareness, this spacious awareness, it's like, well, where do you put your awareness? Where are you going to attend? Because you can just be spaciously aware of everything, but then do I attend to things that are harmful to me, or do I attend to things that are helpful? And so that's where I think positive neuroplasticity comes in, and it becomes more of a directed awareness. And to me, I think that's the next step. Well, that's the next step for my work. But I also think it could be the next step in that movement, is that, okay, what do you do once people are more aware? What then,
Yeah. Once we are curious and compassionate in the moment, now what?
Yeah, like, where do I put my attention? Do I look at the whole landscape, or do I zoom in and focus on something in particular? And is that something beneficial and healthy to my functioning?
Interesting. Oh, that's very, very fascinating. Oh, the future is very bright.
What?
The future is bright.
Yeah, I have may I speak to another book I have coming out? So I wrote a deck of cards last year, and if you don't have them, I'll send those to you.
Yes, I want those.
Okay, so I have this deck of cards called Be Mindful, and there's 50 different quick mindfulness practices. And what I did with another publisher, with Shambhala Publications, is I turned it into a book. And I actually just got the design proof yesterday, and it's my favorite thing I've written. I have to be honest. It's got my heart and soul, and it's the first book I've written. It's a real book. It's not a workbook, but it is really it's that next step I was talking about. It's mostly about 50 ways to take in the good in a mindful way.
Awesome. Yeah. People are hungry for this information because they're seeing the impact that it's making. And I liked at the beginning of your book, of this workbook, that you include a letter to teens, right? It's like, this is who I've written it for. I want teens to get in there and learn about themselves. And then you also have a letter for parents or professionals who are working with the teens. And so tell me a little bit about why the two different letters.
Well, a lot of times a teen is not going to go to a bookstore and buy this book for themselves. Generally speaking, an adult is probably going to buy this book for them. And so I want to let the professional or the parent or whomever, coach, whoever is reading this, to read that first and see how they can best help the teen or teens they're working with. And then to let teens know, like, hey, this is actually for you. It's not for your parent. Don't do this for someone else. Try to do this for you instead of what someone else wants you to do. And also to let them know, take pictures because of social media and because of maybe we're more reliant on our phones, go ahead and write things in the book, but take pictures of it. Send yourself reminders of something you want to remember. It's kind of getting in the muck with teens. I have been working with a club that was co-created with some parents in San Luis Obispo called the Reach Club. And we're working on it this year, and hopefully we'll be piloting it, and then hopefully can go out to the world into a bigger, so that more schools can be using this club format. But it's about taking in the good. It's about being mindful. It's about helping others in a school setting. So that's something that I'm working on, and that actually influenced my dedication in this book. My dedication of this book is to Tomas O'Sullivan, who took his own life. And his mother and a friend who were there with him after this contacted me and reached out to me and told me that they wish they had found me and or mindfulness before he passed. And that has made all the difference in my life. That it puts a face to it. It makes it real. Why are we doing this? Because teens are hemorrhaging and suffering, and they need this badly. And, I think about how hard it was for me to be a teen. And let me tell you, today, if I had to be a teen, I think I would go and hide in my bed with the covers and a hoodie and just try to sleep through it, because, being a teen today is really, really hard. And I just, if I can help at all, and even the littlest bit through this work, then I've done my job. I've done my purpose.
Yeah.
This is my purpose.
Well, that's exactly what I think too. Like, if we can just reach one teen or one youth who is struggling and give them one tool to help ease that, okay, yay, success.
On my website, my business is Stress Teens, and stressteens.com, and I just launched with Anna and Carrie, two amazing parents, love letters to parents. And we have 18 letters, and I just launched the first one on Monday, actually.
Yeah, I know, I shared it already.
Awesome. So we just started the Parent to Parent Collaborative, and a lot of the work I'm doing, although I'm not a nonprofit, a lot of the work I'm doing is for free, and a lot of any earnings I'm earning through certain areas is going to them, to the club, to Parent Collaborative. When I started MBSRT, it wasn't that parents aren't or weren't important. It's that I was just one person and I couldn't teach parents and teens at the same time. But they are also needing that support and that vehicle to navigate being a parent of a teen who's kind of going all hormones and dealing with all of these things that parents aren't even necessarily in the know about.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, I shared that in one of my teacher trainee groups, and it was well liked. I will tell you that. They were like,
awesome.
I'm really excited about this new launch of these love letters to parents, and it was like. I was like,
awesome. Yep, thank you. Anna and Carrie, their tagline and what's very important to them is celebrating being perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have T-shirts that say that, perfectly imperfect, and people are like, yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? We do the best we can with the knowledge we have, and we're going to make mistakes. And it's okay
Absolutely.
to own those and to apologize and to move forward.
Absolutely. Same thing as a professional. And if we're teaching a teen and we make a mistake, or we're in a kind of a funk when we're teaching or prickly, just share that, they'll respect you so much more for that humility and that honesty and transparency.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I want to know, what's your favorite, your one go-to mindfulness activity? What do you do?
I have a practice called the drop-in practice. Out of all the years of like some of the formal mindfulness practices, it's kind of a synthesized version, taking the kind of the key skeleton or foundations of those. And the drop-in is mindfulness is as easy as 1, 2, 3, your body, your breath, and your mind being your thoughts and feelings. And so to drop into this moment, and then being that your chest is really an anchor to the present. What are your grounding anchors that are something that can ground you in the moment? Well, your body, noticing your breath, noticing, your fingers, the sensations in your fingers, your feet on the floor, doing things that can help ground you in the moment, and then being aware of the contents of your consciousness, of your mind, knowing, not being out on autopilot, but being in the know and deciding where then to attend. Do I want to stay with that thought? Do I want to stay with that feeling? Or do I want to shift out of that, depending whether it's in the kind of harming area or helpful area?
Nice.
It's a short practice. It's just really a short 3-5 minute practice.
Yeah, my favorites tend to be short practices too. It's like, I have time right now. Okay, a stoplight. I'm waiting, I'm breathing. Okay, I feel better, right? Like they don't need to be big, bulky practices usually.
But when you just said that, I would say, though, the caveat is, if you have a mindfulness practice on your phone or CD, don't practice in the car. I used to have teens come in to me. They're like, I listened to it while I was driving. And I was like, no.
No, mine's more like, maybe I'm rushing to get somewhere, and I may not actually be driving mindfully. There's that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just kind of an autopilot. I want to get there. It's like, no, pause, be here, be in this vehicle. Okay, now we can continue on safely, and right? And so it's that type of a thing, not, okay, do this guided visualization while driving. No.
And close your eyes while you're driving.
No, don't do that. I love it. Oh, all right. And so where can people find out more about you, about the services that you offer, the courses you offer, all that kind of stuff?
So stressteens.com, and you can sign up for an email list where I have a newsletter, and I send e-ads about my online class. So I have a 10-week professional training program. They teach about 3 times a year, and I have continuing ed units through an organization called PESI, which is a large organization in the U.S. that provides CEs for a lot of different disciplines. I also speak for PESI and do 1-day and 3-day trainings. My 3-day trainings are certificate training. I do that throughout the U.S. I'm actually coming up to Montreal and Ottawa in November. So I'll be speaking, doing 2 different day-longs up there through MediSci. I don't know if you're familiar with them. It's a new organization
Nope,
for me. But I come up to Canada, sometimes I love I have a lot of Canadian friends. So I just was actually in Toronto in May, and I love when I get up there, especially in our current political climate. Anytime for me to get out of the United States, I'm happy. But, I won't share my political opinion, but, just saying.
Things are a little bit calmer up here.
Yeah, I don't have to, worry as much when I'm up in Canada. I love my Canadian people and the Be Nice. I mean, you guys just celebrated your 150th anniversary?
Yeah, this year, 150 years. And
hey, it's the Be Nice campaign. I mean, who doesn't like being nice? I like that. I think the United States should adopt the Be Nice campaign too. So I speak a lot of different places and I teach online, and I have this first book just came out, obviously the second edition, but I have 2 more books coming out. In January, I have Be Mindful, Stress Less, 50 Ways to Deal with Your Crazy Life. In June, I have another instant help book with New Harbinger for student athletes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I just signed a deal to write a clinical book with Norton, which will not be out till 2019. So
look at you, busy.
Keeping a little busy, just a little bit.
Yeah, well,
trying to stay grounded at the same time. That's the deal.
Thank you for sharing your expertise like that, right? Making it available to us, whether it's online or in person or a book, resources, so helpful to people to have access to those.
Thank you.
All right. It has been wonderful chatting with you today.
Yeah, it's been really lovely. I think if I could give a pearl of wisdom to anyone, it's when you're feeling kind of miserable and whatever, keeping an attitude of gratitude and think of 3 things you're grateful for at any moment, because 99% of you at any given moment there's more right with you than wrong with you, even if you feel miserable.
Nice. I love it. 3 things. Beautiful.
Thank you, Donna.
So
I
much.
appreciate it.
We've been chatting with Gina Biegel of Stress Teens. Definitely go check out her work. She's an amazing person, don't you think? I just,
like everybody else, I put my pants on the same way.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing your morning with us, and continue to share your resources and your light. It is.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so everybody, you can go find this and other interviews on the my YouTube page. That's where it's going to be. So it's going to be up on the YouTube page. Of course, it'll be published on Yoga in My School, and continue to share your light, have mindful moments, and share those moments with teens. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Bye. Namaste. Thank you.